everybody. I'm in a better mood today. Thank you to Brett, who suggested I create the group, and I tried to make it public so I get more people in, and hopefully I can post up more videos when I do them again after Christmas, and get some more views. So yeah, I admit this week has been rather disappointing. You know, people haven't been watching, and I understand that people are still at work, but there's always, like, you know, after work when they finish, but it's okay. I'm in a better mood today. So yes, we got the last part of the Canterville Ghost, which I hope people have been enjoying me reading. Excuse me, I've got my review of The Watcher in the Woods, and yeah, and that's it really today. There's no video tomorrow as I'm having a rest day because I start work in a couple of hours and finish at 6:30, and yeah, so, and I'm on working Sunday, so yeah. Next weekend, I start my Christmas videos. I thought I'd bring them early. I'll still continue to do my Doctor Who videos. Next Sunday, I will have Doctor Who review number 10, Blink, and also the top 10 Doctor Who crushes. So yeah. But anyway, on with Ghosty and Ghastly. And I've got the last part of the Canterville Ghost, which I hope some of you have been enjoying me reading to you. Part 5. 4 days after this curious incident, a funeral started from Canterville Chase at about 11 o'clock at night. The hearse was drawn by 8 black horses, each of which carried on its head a great tuft of nodding ostrich plumes, and the leaden coffin was covered by a rich purple pall, on which was emboldened in gold and Canterville coat of arms. By the side of the hearse, the coaches walked the servants with lighted torches, and the whole procession was wonderfully impressive. Lord Canterville was the chief mourner, having come up specially from Wales to attend the funeral, sat in the first carriage, along with little Virginia. Then came the United States Minister and his wife, then Washington and the 3 boys. And in the last carriage was Mrs. Umney. It was generally felt that, as she had been frightened by the ghost for more than 50 years of her life, she had a right to see the last of him. A deep grave had been dug in the corner of the churchyard, just under the old yew tree, and the service was read by the most impressive manner by the Reverend Augustus Stamper. When the ceremony was over, the servants, according to an old custom observed in the Canterville family, extinguished their torches, as the coffin being lowered into the grave. Virginia stepped forward and laid on it a large cross made of white and pink almond blossoms. As she did so, the moon came out from behind a cloud and flooded with its silent silver the little churchyard, and from a distant copse a nightingale began to sing. She thought of the ghost's description of the garden of death. Her eyes became dim with tears, and she hardly spoke a word during the drive home. The next morning, before Lord Canterville went up to the town, Mr. Otis had an interview with him on the subject of the jewels the ghost had given to Virginia. They were perfectly magnificent, especially a certain ruby necklace that, with old Viennese setting, which was really a superb specimen of 16th century work, and their value was so great that Mr. Otis felt considerable scruples about allowing her daughter to accept them. "My lord," he said, "I know in this country mortmain is held to apply to trinkets as well as to land. It is quite clear to me that these jewels are, or should be, heirlooms in your family. I must beg you accordingly to take them to London with you, and to regard them simply as a portion of your property which has been restored to you under certain strange conditions. As for my daughter, she is merely a child, and has yet, I am glad to say, but little interest in such pretences of idle luxury. I am also informed by Mrs. Otis, who I may say is no mean authority upon art, having had the privilege of spending several winters in Boston, where she was a girl, that these gems are great monetary worth, and if offered for sale, she would fetch a tall price. Under these circumstances, Lord Canterville, I am sure you will recognise how impossible it would be for me to allow them to remain in the possessions of any member of my family, and indeed all such vain gauds and toys, however suitable and necessary to the dignity of the British aristocracy. would be completely out of place among those who have been brought up on the severe and, I believe, immortal principles of republication, simplicity. Perhaps I should mention that Virginia is very anxious about that you should allow her to retain the box as a memento of your unfortunate but misguided ancestor, as extremely old and consequently a good deal out of repair. You may perhaps think it You may perhaps think fit to comply with her request. As for my own part, I confess I'm a good deal surprised to find a child of mine expressing sympathy with its medievalism in any form, and can only account for it by the fact that Virginia was born in one of your London suburbs shortly after Mrs. Otis had returned from a trip to Athens. Lord Canterville listened very gravely to the worthy minister's speech, pulling his grey moustache now, and then to hide involuntary smile, and when Mr. Otis had ended, he shook him cordially by the hand and said, "My dear sir, your charming little daughter rendered my unlucky ancestor, Sir Simon, a very important service, and I and my family are much indebted to her, for her marvellous courage and pluck. The jewels are clearly hers and edged. I believe that, if I were heartless enough to take them from her, the wicked old fellow would be out of his grave in a fortnight, lending me the devil out of life. As for being heirlooms, nothing is an heirloom that is not so mentioned in a will or legal document, and the existence of these jewels have been quite unknown. I assure you, I have no more claim on them than your butler, and then when Mrs. Virginia grows up, I dare say she will be pleased to have pretty things to wear. Besides, you forget, Mr. Otis, you took the furniture and the ghost as valuation, and anything that belonged to the ghost passed at once into your possession, as whatever activity Sir Simon may have shown in the corridor at night, in point of law, he was really dead, and you acquired his property by purchase." Mr. Otis was a good deal distressed at Lord Canterville's refusal and begged him to reconsider his decision. But the good man appeared was quite firm, and finally induced the mistress to allow his daughter to retain the present the ghost had given her. And when, in the spring, in 1890, the young Duchess of Cheshire was presented at the Queen's first drawing room on the occasion of her marriage, the jewels were the universal theme of admiration. For Virginia received the correct coronet, which is the reward of all good little American girls, and was married to her boy lover as soon as he came of age. They were both so charming, and they loved each other so much, and that everyone was delighted with the match, except the old Baroness of Dumbleton, who tried to catch the Duke for one of her 7 unmarried daughters, and had given no less than 3 expensive dinner parties for that purpose. And strange to say, Mr. Otis was extremely fond of the young Duke personally, but theoretically he objected no to titles, and to use his own words, was not without apprehension lest, amid the averting influences of pleasure-loving aristocracy, the true principles of republic simplicity should be forgotten. His objections, however, were completely overruled. I believe that when he walked up the aisle of St. George, Hanover Square, with his daughter leaning on his arm, there was no prouder man in the whole length and breadth of England. The Duke and Duchess, after their honeymoon, went over to Canterville Chase, and on the day after their arrival, they walked over in the afternoon to the lonely churchyard by the pine woods. There had been a great deal of difficulty at first about the inscription on Sir Simon's tombstone, but finally it had been decided to engrave on it simply the initials of the old gentleman's name and the verse of the library window. The Duchess had brought some lovely roses, which she strewed up upon the grave that had stood by it for some time, and they strolled into the ruined chapel of the old abbey. There the Duchess sat down on a fallen pillar, while her husband lay at her feet, smoking a cigar and looking up at her beautiful eyes. Suddenly threw the cigarette away and took hold of her hand, and said to her, "Virginia, a wife should have no secrets from her husband." "Dear Cecil, I have no secrets from you." "Yes, you have," he answered, smiling. "You have never told me what happened to you when you locked up when you were locked up with the ghost. With the ghost. I've never told anyone, Cecil, said Virginia gravely. I know that, but you might tell me? Please don't ask me, Cecil. I cannot tell you. Poor Sir Simon. I owe him a great deal. Yes, don't laugh, Cecil. I really do. He made me see what life is and what death signifies, and why love is stronger than both. The Duke rose and kissed his wife lovingly. You can have your secret as long as I have your heart, he murmured. You have always had that, Cecil, and you'll tell our children some day, won't you? Virginia blushed. The end. That is the first time I have read that, and I really enjoyed reading it, and I'm sorry about yesterday. It was just very disheartening not getting the views that I'd hoped for, even if I was reading, and yeah, but anyway. On with The Watcher in the Woods. Now, I know I promised this. The Watcher in the Woods is a film that Walt Disney made. I can't remember who wrote the actual book, but David McCallum starred in it, and he only makes a brief cameo as the dad. The main focus of the story, or the main focus of the film, is about the two girls. An American family move into this house, and Betty Davis is like the groundskeeper, the housekeeper, and she lost her daughter during an eclipse that her friends had made round. Like her friends at the time had I can't remember now. Her friends had gone round in a circle and made her stand in the middle, and there was an eclipse that night, and during that eclipse she disappeared under mysterious circumstances. No one knows how or why, but when the American family move in, strange things start happening, and the older daughter starts investigating and trying to find out what happened that night, and tries to get all the friends together to perform the same ritual so that the daughter that's disappeared, Betty Davis's daughter disappeared, can reappear again. And lots of other strange things happen. I think this was Betty Davis's last film, and it's quite a good film. And of course the friends try and explain to her what happened, and they perform the ritual, and the girl is brought back. I have read on Wikipedia that the ending was going to involve aliens, but this was quickly, when it was released, they changed the ending. They took it out of the cinema and sort of changed the ending, and just ended the ending as you have it today. As I say, David McCallum makes a brief appearance as the dad, and the main focus is on the two daughters and the older daughter investigating what's been going on, what's happening, and the younger daughter, the younger sister, becomes possessed sometimes by the spirit or the consciousness of this daughter that's gone missing during the eclipse, and they're all trying to figure out what's going on, what's happening, and they're getting the friends together, performing the ritual again, and Betty Davis eventually gets her daughter back, and everything goes back to normal. And so yeah, it's a good film, and I think it's Walt Disney's first genre, or first dip into horror. It's a really good film, and sure all of you will thoroughly enjoy this. But anyway, that's it done for today. As I say, there's no video tomorrow, and no video on Sunday. I hope you've enjoyed this. Videos will be back on Saturday and Sunday with my first Christmas video, Secret Santa, and what we were watching during the 1990s on BBC One and ITV, and I'll include Boxing Day. Thank you very, very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. I know I haven't had the views, but I hope you continue to watch, and I hope I don't give up on doing these videos now. I feel like I've got my zest back. So thank you, Brett, for that, and with the group and everything. And yes, thank you very much indeed. And I shall see you next week with Christmas. And I don't know whether I should put on my Christmas decorations or not. But see you next week. Bye-bye for now.